Hey, Daddy, this is the man of the champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout-out to...
Something else.
Something else, Daddy.
This is Nickel Matan, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Aria.
And welcome to episode number 084 of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at both Mid-South Wrestling and World Class Championship Wrestling for March 12th, 1983. My name is Aria, and welcome to the show. And yes, as per popular-ish demand, we are continuing our world-class reviews right here on Something Else. Last time I checked, the vote was, I think, 70% for it, which, for all you math majors out there, would know that means that 30% of you were against it. Oh well. So, the majority wins in this case. Hooray! Just a few quick little notes here before we begin. I, for some strange, weird, unknown reason here in March, am coming down with a cold. Unfortunately, here, winter is over, but apparently my body's unaware of this because now it wants to get a cold that it managed to avoid all year. So, just a warning. Now, hopefully I won't be hacking up a lung into the microphone here today, but if there's any weird, wacky audio jumps interspersed throughout this episode, that might be it. Also, had people in the past mention that they would like to, they'd like to support me, even if they're not paying me, money out of pocket. And if you're one of those people and you wish to support me without paying an extra penny, please consider using my Amazon Associates link, which is tinyurl.com/something-else-Amazon. You just use Amazon like normal. You do not pay an extra penny, but I get a small kickback, which helps me pay for upgrades and the admittedly small amount that I have to pay to produce this show. Plus, if you're not already there, check out our YouTube page, which is tinyurl.com/something-else-YouTube. It is the exclusive home of the video version of this show. And no, the video version is not you staring at my ugly mug for an hour. It's actually watching the Mid-South Wrestling program. Now, I do have to give a quick, sad little update. I can't upload the video for World Class. That is something you're going to have to exclusively check out through Peacock if you have the ability. I apologize. My supplier does not have it handy. Sorry, but we'll have some fun, listen to the show anyway, and go from there. So before we get into the World Class, let's talk about some Mid-South Wrestling. It's Mid-South Wrestling from March 12, 1983, from the Irish McNeil Boys Club in Shreveport, Louisiana. Well, let's go to the intro of this show with Boyd Pierce and this week's guest host, Cowboy Bill Watts.
Hello, wrestling fans. Welcome to this week's edition of Mid-South Wrestling Television Network. I'm your host, Boyd Pierce. We have a lot of exciting action. This week's card will be headlined by an outstanding tag team match. The Mid-South Tag Team Champions, Matt Borne and Ted DiBiase, in the ring against the terrific twosome of Tiger Conway Jr. and Mr. Racing 2 in a non-title match. The Black Ninja is here, also Mr. Olympia ready for action. We have a lot of excitement, a lot of things that have happened in the past, and to tell you about it, our guest commentator, Cowboy Bill Watts.
Well, Boyd, it should be an exciting evening. Like you said, that tag match should be a really great one, and Mr. Olympia back. He made such a great debut returning to Mid-South after an enforced vacation. Houston, Texas, lots of action. They've got a great promoter there, Paul Bosch. He was a top-notch wrestler in his day. He's been a great a philanthropist as well as promoter in Houston, and lots of action there. And February the 11th, there was a match between Mr. Wrestling 2 and the Iron Sheik, a man who brags about being the Khomeini's bodyguard. Well, I'll tell you, it didn't impress Wrestling 2. He treated the Iron Sheik like he had a relative that was one of those people that was kidnapped and held for 444 days. Let's join the final moments of that in Houston, Texas.
So, yeah. So today's show, Matt Borne and Ted DiBiase in a non-title match against Tiger Conway Jr. and Mr. Wrestling 2. It's nice to know that Boyd forgot who the tag team champions were there for a minute. Did you notice that? It's like I don't know if they did white card it off the screen, but it seemed very apparent that Boyd was looking off to the side for a cue card to see what the actual match was. It's possible he may have forgotten Mr. Wrestling 2 and Tiger Conway Jr. as well, but, who knows for sure. And then Bill starts putting over Houston and Paul Bosch, saying that back on February 11th, there was a match with Mr. Wrestling 2 and the Iron Sheik, and 2 treated Sheik like it was one of his relatives that were one of the Iranian hostages. And from there, we go to Houston, Texas, and we go to the Iron Sheik versus Mr. Wrestling 2 with Paul Bosch on commentary. Sheik was in control with clobbering blows, and then he kicked 2 in the throat. Of course, Sheiky Baby has pointed-toed boots, so theoretically, a kick with the toe of the boots will hurt more than it would if you just had the flat toe. 2 made his comeback and did a Dusty Rhodes dance on the comeback, go figure. He got a 1 count with a headlock of all things. Sheik blocked a roll-up and went for a senton of all things. And 2 moved out of the way and got the pin with the running knee lift. So back to Shreveport with our first match, the Black Ninja Kendo Nagasaki versus Ron Ellis. Unfortunately, because they taped 2 weeks of shows at a time, and last week we didn't have Reeser Bowden, Reeser is still on vacation. And unfortunately, Jack Curtis is filling in. Now, I've mentioned before, and we played audio of Reeser, he's not, the greatest. He's not Howard Finkel, but he is bad in a fun way, Jack Curtis is not. And to give you an idea, I'm going to play the intro of this match where he's introducing Kendo Nagasaki and his opponent, Ron Ellis.
This event, 1 fall or 10 minutes. Introducing from the Far East, the Black Ninja. His opponent, Ron Ellis.
The introduction of
The Black Ninja. Like I said, this isn't even Reeser Bowden levels of fun. This is just bad. And it's like, this guy's like legitimately, at the time, this guy's the backup ring announcer. If you went to house shows at the time, you generally heard Jack Curtis doing the ring introductions. Unfortunately, Reeser had a real job. It's unfortunate, but true. But anyway, Nagasaki does his pre-match ceremony, and again, he really should wear a mask or something because he loses all of his mystique the second he takes off his mask and you see this man with his male pattern baldness. And I'll tell you what, if this isn't just male pattern baldness and he is shaving part of his head like that on purpose, then he needs to go the fuck home and come back when he lets his hair grow in, because it just looks fucking stupid. Speaking of things that may be fucking stupid, Bill Watts claims that Nagasaki has, and I quote, martially challenged the Junkyard Dog, whatever the hell that means. Nagasaki wins with a sidekick. General Skandor Akbar, friend who is all over both shows sometimes, appeared at ringside at the end of the match to watch on and applaud. I should note, by the way, that North American title tournament is coming up, and they have not really been hammering it home as much as I thought they would have. But I guess we still have another week to go. We go to commercial, we come back, and Bill Watts has magically morphed into Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Let's see what the old Hacksaw has to say.
Wrestling fans, here with me at the television table, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who wanted to sit here. He's not on this week's card, and he wanted to match.
I want to
you
show
fans
some of
to
these
see.
people.
You can show the fans, but first we're going to show them a match here on December the 8th, 1982, when you, Hacksaw Duggan, wrestled the top Mexican star, Chavo Guerrero.
Yeah, that figures. That's Chavo Guerrero. That's that Mexican type of way to do things. He's going to use that for a vehicle to promote himself for as long as he can. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you a little story behind the scenes. Hacksaw Duggan flew all night that night because I was caught in a snowstorm up north. I come in here, Chavo Guerrero, that little gnat, he's been so proud of himself with this tape. He's showing it around to all his relatives. He's got so many, just like a little cockroach that he is. He's all over the place. He's a little wet behind the ears, too, if you know what I mean.
All right.
Let me tell you something, Boyd Pierce. Let me tell you something, Boyd Pierce. He's using this excuse. He never beat me in this tape. You watch this monitor right here, and you watch what beat Hacksaw Duggan. That wasn't Chavo Guerrero. That was a ring post.
Let's watch.
Okay, so Boyd attempts to pitch to a match from December 8th with Duggan versus Chavo Guerrero, and Duggan goes off on the rant that you just heard him speak. He says that he did not lose to Chavo Guerrero, he lost to a ring post. And he had just flown in all night long. There's a snowstorm involved. You know, that little cockroach, this gnat, is bragging about this tape of him beating Jim Duggan, and just goes on and on and on. They then show the Duggan-Chavo match. This was the one where Duggan was split wide the fuck open on the post, and Chavo picked up the win. To continue our deep dive into Jim Duggan this week, we come back and he's got more to say.
That figures, that's just what I mean. He's going to use that tape as long as he can. He's going to go around bragging how he beat Hacksaw Duggan. Well, you people saw, you saw yourself, Boyd Pierce, and everybody knows that Hacksaw Duggan didn't get beat by no gnat Chavo Guerrero. Hacksaw Duggan got beat by the turnbuckle or the corner post of that ring right there. After a long night, up all night flying, I have to come in here and fight this little man. He shouldn't even be in the ring. What's he doing? I want to show my tape of what happens. And I want you to know, Chavo Guerrero, look at this tape real close. Take a real good look at it and see what happens to Mr. Big Guns, Tony Atlas, when he has something to do with Hacksaw Duggan. Chavo's real proud of himself. He wants to go around and show this film to everybody. I'm sure he's got it in a big, safe can because he doesn't want to lose it. You know why he doesn't want to lose it? Because down in his guts, he knows that's the only time, I'm telling you, Boyd Pierce, that he's going to have Hacksaw Duggan down on that mat. That's when Hacksaw Duggan runs into the post. That's the only way.
And we'll be fair about it. We're going to show the match.
Show my match.
December the 15th, 1982, Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Tony Atlas. Let's watch that match. This is the one he wants us to see.
Okay. So Duggan just reiterates what he had already said, that he did not lose to Chavo. He lost to the corner post, which, you know, I guess if you're going to blame somebody, you might as well blame an inanimate object. And yeah, from here, he wants to see his match with Tony Atlas, which was a week later. This was the match from back in December where they start with arm wrestling on the mat. It's like one of those, okay, that really just happened kind of thing. They arm wrestle on the mat. Then Atlas beats up an interfering Borne and DiBiase who ran in. Duggan puts on a helmet to spear Atlas for the win. And sadly, Duggan having a helmet was not something that was really continued, now was it? Now, anyway, we're going to go back to the desk here. This is, I believe, our last Jim Duggan snippet. And he's going to brag about the win. And this is one of those times where it's like, well, I'll tell you after it, I guess.
Different story there, Boyd Pierce. A different story there. Mr. All Muscles, No Brain, learns his lesson. I hope Chavo Guerrero, sitting at home, make sure he's got the channel on and the volume turned up so he can see what he just got himself into.
The Rat Pack always wins, as you say, but it also appears to me that it always takes the entire Rat Pack to win it.
Wait a minute. You come out here and say that kind of stuff. The Rat Pack, we take care of each other. We keep an eye on each other. That's something that nobody else in Mid-South does.
And we'll be right back after this word from Mid-South Wrestling.
Okay. So Duggan's bragging about his win, and Boyd slowly turns his head to look at him for bragging about this win where he needed two people to run in and have a loaded helmet in order to beat this guy. Boyd, like, Boyd was just great here. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, this is why modern announcers, you can argue, that modern announcers may in some degree be better because they know the names of the moves and they study, all the wrestling and they know what's going on and they have the stories to tell. They may in some ways be better, but they'll never actually be better because like, it's too contrived nowadays. If Michael Cole did this to Pat McAfee on Raw or whatever, it'd be like, okay, that shit was set up, an hour before the show began, where McAfee was going to say that he's going to say this, and Cole's going to slowly turn and look at him. It's like, no, like this was great. Boyd Pierce, not the most fluid announcer in the world, and it's like when he sniffs bullshit, it's like he can't even help himself but to turn and take a look at Jim Duggan spewing it here. And that's one of those things I would check it out if you could on the video version. Anyway, Duggan says the Rat Pack looks out for each other, unlike the rest of Mid-South Wrestling. Now, on the show, or, on the video, 32 seconds pass between when they go to commercial break and when they come back from commercial break. However, in that 32 seconds, a lot of things happen. Let's go to the desk where Bill Watts has rejoined Boyd Pierce.
Well, Boyd, during the last commercial break, a lot of things happened. You can see the whole crowd is in an uproar. Lots of things happen. At the base of it all is this suitcase right here that has a lot of the paraphernalia similar to what's been happening to Mr. Wrestling 2. There's a mask that is crimson colored, the paints to do it, letters to Wrestling 2, other masks, a doll in here, Wrestling 2 tights, a bunch of stuff. We're going to go to the match. It's in the ring with ring announcer Jack Curtis. We'll try to get to the end of this after this next bout.
Okay, so we have found our culprit, possibly. Mr. Wrestling 2 has discovered the suitcase full of his stuff, and he discovered it during the commercial break. And we're going to talk about it, but we're not going to talk about it until after this match. But okay, so we have something going on here. So we go to our match. It's tag team champions Ted DiBiase and Matt Borne versus Tiger Conway Jr. and Mr. Wrestling 2 in a non-title match. And at the beginning of this match, I'm not going to play the audio, it's only like 15 seconds, but Watts talks about the altercation between Mr. Wrestling 2 and Mr. Olympia. And we're going to try to get to the bottom of it, but Olympia tells Watts that Mr. Wrestling 2 is crazy. We'll see what happens here. But Conway gets the shine and looks good here, knocking Borne and DiBiase every which way. They announced that AWA champion Nick Bockwinkel will be here next week, of all people. It's kind of funny. I don't think Mid-South was technically... Actually, I think they were. I keep saying that, and I should probably look it up, whether or not Mid-South was technically a member of the NWA. But it's like, you would think it would be against the NWA bylaws to be working with another promotion's world champion. But, hey, it's the NWA is falling apart, man. That when you get to the 80s, I know it's easy to go back and say, oh, what do you mean it's falling apart? It had Flair, it had this, it had that. The other thing, it's like, it had some strong territories, but the NWA as an alliance was crumbling at this point. And so things like this were easy to slip through the cracks. So Conway was in for most of the match, and 2 ran wild as soon as he got in with knee strikes to both men. Conway gave DiBiase a punch to the face as he leapfrogged over 2, which was interesting. Conway took Borne over with a suplex, where whether or not this was the intent, it looked like a legitimate struggle. Like if someone was going to try to give you a suplex, you wouldn't just stand there and let it happen. But Matt Borne and Tiger Conway, whether or not it was the intent, they made it look real, which is always a thumbs up when talking about pro wrestling. So I was going to play the finish, but there's too much audio to play this week. And so we're going to skip, playing the finish. But the finish is the referee's distracted by Conway. Borne comes off the top rope with the bombs away on 2. Borne and Conway collided with one another and fell out of the ring. DiBiase loads his glove but misses the punch. 2 does a knee lift to DiBiase where he falls into the referee. Borne grabbed a chair and got into the ring, but Conway did a top rope headbutt to Borne. 2 knocks DiBiase out of the ring, and then he pins Borne as Conway gets the referee back into the ring. Like I said, I was going to play the audio, but there's a lot more and better stuff to play this week instead. But at the end of the day, our challengers, well, cleanly is a stretch of the word, but our challengers beat our champions in a non-title match. So in theory, we're setting up a title match here down the line. Okay, so we've been teasing you for months here, but here we go. Is this the big reveal or not? Let's go to Bill Watts, who is technically with Mr. Wrestling 2 and Tiger Conway Jr., but I don't believe Tiger Conway says anything. Let's go to that right now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, before this non-title bout between Wrestling 2 and Tiger Conway against DiBiase and Borne, we had told you that during the commercial break there was an altercation between Wrestling 2 and Mr. Olympia, 2 very unlikely people to get into it, and all was over this suitcase. And I think I'll let you start to tell us about it, because Oral Link, our director, with the cameras going, when he saw the altercation up there, he taped it, and we do have a copy of that, a VTR videotape of some of the altercation, but I think we're all a little bit in the dark.
Bill, when he was out in the ring having his match, this suitcase was lying down where he was. One of the guys happened to bump against it and it fell open. This is what I saw. Now, when he came back in the dressing room, I asked him, man to man, is this your suitcase? He says, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I said, answer me, man. Is this your suitcase? Well, yes or no?
First of all, for the fans at home, there's a set of tights similar to what you wear. There's a couple of masks like yours, and this one, of course, has been doctored with paints to show a wounded mask, and there's a doll here, and
down the center of it.
This says wrestling. What does this say here? Wrestling 2, your pillow has been ordered so you can take your long overdue rest. I know your knee has lost its power, so don't hurt yourself anymore. And 2, you're a very confused man at this point. Don't worry, you will know when it hits you. And a lot of different things in here.
Umpteen letters in here that I'm sure they're very appropriate for the man that wrote them. Let me tell you something, Bill. You know me for a long time, man. I'm a straight-up guy. I don't pull punches one way or the other with anybody. I tell it like it is, no matter who it hurts. And this, of all people, I cannot believe that Olympia is the man behind all this, but the obvious thing is that these are my masks, this is my clothes, this is the paint that he's been cluttering with. Hey,
well,
it's like black and white. It's right here.
Let's show that altercation in just a second. And again, let's try to collect our thoughts while that's going on, because although there's a preponderance of evidence right here, let's wait until, there's 2 sides to every story. And I think even the fans, there's maybe more to this than meets the eye. If Oral Link will show that while he's showing it, let's calm down and collect ourselves a little bit here. Well, certainly, while we reviewed that, and maybe you've had time to calm down a little bit, I know just how much this has bothered you. I think I know it more than anybody because we have known each other for a long time, and you are a straight-up guy, and you've told me just how this has upset you and your whole family. But also, this is the United States. And in the United States, you know, there's two sides to every story, and I think somebody is innocent until proven guilty, and we haven't had a chance yet to question Mr. Olympia. And Mr. Olympia, if you recall, when you got injured from a situation around this same property situation with Akbar and Kamala, he's the one that volunteered and took your place with Stagger Lee. And he was forced to leave, and he hadn't even been here. And now here his second week back. It looks like you say, certainly we can see the evidence is here. But I think, you know, let's give it a time and let's wait. And what we'll do, he's scheduled to wrestle next. We'll, after his match, we'll get him out here. We'll confront him with this, and we'll hear his side of it. I think at first I would like to congratulate you both on that great victory over DiBiase and Borne. And I understand. I certainly understand.
Thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll be back after these messages from Mid-South.
Okay, so we have an update on a long-running angle. This thing's been going on, honestly, I think it's been going on since November. Like either the end of November, beginning of December, this thing's been going on. And it's now March 12th, and we're getting some developments here in this storyline. So, now, this is where it gets weird. Here's the only thing, and I'm sure you all picked up on it listening to this. Two says that he discovered this while Olympia was out here having his match. So Olympia hasn't had a match yet this week. Olympia had a match last week, and I mean, I guess in theory it has been acknowledged here on this show that these shows are taped in advance, and they have said in the past that they do tape multiple shows at a time. However, I don't know. It's like on the Smoky Mountain tape when Paul Orndorff talked about doing something last month when on TV it just happened the week before. But that's the thing. It's like, so they went a little screwy there, and this really wasn't something you could retape, but they really should have had a better answer as to when this happened. But generally speaking, someone bumped into Olympia's suitcase while Olympia was not in the room. It somehow fell open, which, by the way, bullshit, right? Bullshit. But anyway, Olympia's suitcase opens up, and it has all of that two gear, all of his accoutrements, all of the dolls that someone's been harassing Mr. Wrestling 2 with. It had a pillowcase that had a weirdly worded threat about Mr. Wrestling 2's knee. 2 begins screaming and asking Olympia, and Olympia didn't deny it. And, you know, Watts said he wanted to hear from Olympia. But first, we saw the argument of the two of them coming out, and Olympia is walking backwards down the stairs, which, you know, good for him for not tripping, I guess. But they get to the bottom, you know, 2's just screaming at him and throws the suitcase on the ground where all the crap comes out and, you know, grab it. Wow, that's going back 3 months. Olympia bends down to try to put it all together. But when he does that, 2 gives him the knee lift, which, by the way, Olympia didn't get knocked the fuck out on. But anyway, Conway and some underneath talent came to pull 2 away, and Olympia took off. Now, back to what he heard that Watts said, because this is the United States, and apparently we're the only country in the world who will give people the chance to defend themselves, eye roll, Olympia is innocent until proven guilty, and he points out what we have pointed out in the past. Olympia has helped out when Tu's been attacked. And he put himself in that match from a few months ago that led to Olympia having to leave Mid-South for 60 days. So Olympia is a stand-up guy, and we're not just going to, throw him under the bus or give him a chance to defend himself. So Olympia's going to come out here and wrestle next, and then they're going to talk to Mr. Olympia about what's going on. Up next, you've never wanted to see Arn Anderson lose a match so quickly in your life. Mr. Olympia versus Marty Lundy. And this is one of those matches you're just waiting for the aftermath here, man. Olympia wins quickly with a sleeper. Instead of slapping the back of Marty's head to wake him up, Olympia stomps the back of his head. I'm sure stomping someone in the back of their head does not have any long-lasting consequences at all. So we go to commercial, we come back from commercial, and Bill Watts has intercepted Mr. Olympia.
Bill Watts has left our table and intercepted Mr. Olympia after his match. Let's go to the ring. Bill Watts and Mr. Olympia.
As you see, we have another match scheduled, but we promised you we'd talk to Mr. Olympia. And Mr. Olympia, I know you're upset about this, as you voiced to me during the commercial break, but I do have to say and state the facts, this is your suitcase.
Bill, I don't know what's going on. I've been gone. For 60 long days, I've been gone, and now here this comes up. I took Wrestling 2's place.
I know
Out
that.
of the bottom of my heart, I took his place.
Let's just answer the question. Is this your suitcase? That's what he meant. Is this your suitcase?
Yes, that's my suitcase. Obviously, somebody else has put something in it, though.
Well, there's a lot of things. You've never seen any of this paraphernalia?
I don't know how this got here. I hadn't done any of that. That's my suitcase, but I had other things in it.
Well, certainly I don't see anything that I recognize as
man
yours.
Can blame me for something like this, because I stood behind JYD through thick and thin, and Wrestling 2 got hurt right here on TV, and I took his place. Out of the goodness of my heart, I've had to take a vacation, 60 long days. But let me tell you something, 2, or no matter who it is, I don't back down from nobody.
Well,
I'm not backing up. So
no,
if 2 don't lay off me,
yeah.
I'm going to tell you, it's going to be trouble, because I'm not going to back up.
Well, I know that in the heat of the moment that both of you are upset, and you both got a right. He naturally, I think you can understand, under the persecution he's been under, and certainly you being falsely accused. I can understand.
I don't know what's going on.
No,
I have no idea. I've been gone. I don't know what the man's been going through, but now he's blaming me for it.
We did want to get you out here and in front of everybody, ask you, and you denied any of these in there. I don't see any of your personal belongings in here, and certainly a lot of things have happened. We saw the things Paul Orndorff pull. We saw the things Ted DiBiase. So we've seen a lot of things happen here. We've seen the things Hacksaw Dugan pull. So somebody could definitely be at the bottom of this besides you, and certainly I want to believe that, as does everybody here and everybody at home. I'd say this, let's let a week go by. Let's both calm down, and let's just try to get to the bottom of it. Right now, we'll go back to Boyd Pierce.
And Jack Curtis and the 4 contestants of the tag team match are in the ring.
Okay. So, let's be honest, that's a pretty weak denial by Mr. Olympia. It is his suitcase, but that's not his stuff. He has other stuff. Where did the other stuff go? Now, what's working in his favor in this argument, because whether or not it actually is Mr. Olympia who is behind this, what works in his argument is that A, this is his only suitcase. B, none of his personal belongings are in there. None of his street clothes are there, unless he came to the arena in his tights, which he probably did not do. His stuff is somewhere else. His personal effects are somewhere else. And C, and perhaps the most important thing in all of this, why would he be that stupid? Why would Mr. Olympia, if he is the person who's behind these attacks, or not even attacks, the person behind these mind games in Mr. Wrestling 2, if it is him, why would he just bring that stuff with him to the arena and leave it in the dressing room? apparently unlocked enough to the point where bumping into it will burst it open and have everyone see what's inside. Now, of course, Mr. Olympia, being the fine, upstanding babyface he is, we've talked about it. He saved Mr. Wrestling 2. He put himself in Mr. Wrestling 2's match when 2 got injured. He did all this stuff, what an honorable babyface does. So if he's an honorable babyface and helping out 2 when he's down and replacing him in matches, why would he then be trying to fuck with Mr. Wrestling 2's head? These are questions that are going to have to be answered in the very near future. But we have something going on here. And, it's, in my opinion, it's pretty fucking interesting. But we're going to give everybody a week to calm down and get everyone's ducks in a row and see where things are this time next week. And from here we go to our expiration of time match. Kelly Kiniski and Ron Kessler versus Art Cruz and Tim Horner. The expiration of time match, less than 3 minutes to go, and to the shock of approximately nobody, the match ends in a time limit draw. My only note of this is I really hope Reeser is back next week. So the show started slow, but it really picked up, and I feel like we're cooking with gasoline. Because honestly, now that we're getting to the conclusion to this Mr. Wrestling 2 storyline, it feels fresh. It's a lot hotter. It's a lot fresher than the Junkyard Dog Ted DiBiase angle that's been going on for 9 months. Like, Dog wasn't even on this week's show. And it's like, at this point, his feuds are the 9-month feud with DiBiase and setting something up with Kendo Nagasaki. And that's definitely not setting the world on fire, I gotta tell you that. But that's it for Mid-South Wrestling. Like I said, I think it's a pretty good show. And, like I said, check it out on our YouTube page, tinyurl.com/something else YouTube. And so we're going to move on to World Class Championship Wrestling. But I'm going to press pause on the audio here. And at least to you guys listening to this, there's going to be like no difference. But in real life, I'm pressing pause so I can pull up the World Class video on Peacock, which, fingers crossed, hopefully we get this to work so I can play some audio this week's show. And if not, oh well, we'll figure something out. But I'll be back in about 3 seconds if you're listening to me now. That wasn't even 3 seconds, was it? But I'm back. About 5 minutes later in real life. But I'm back with our World Class Championship Wrestling review, where we're going to attempt to play the audio here and fingers crossed, tap on wood. Hopefully the crops like me here and we can get through this. So I forgot to mention this last week, but of course the show, World Class Championship Wrestling, March 12, 1983, from the Sportatorium in Dallas, Texas. It does, of course, open with a theme song that so many people these days will associate with a plug for Stephen P. New. If you get the reference, good for you. If you don't, well, good for you too. But let's go to the intro with Bill Mercer, who's going to talk about today's tremendous card, and then he's joined by Jimmy Garvin and Sunshine.
Welcome to World Class Championship Wrestling from the Sportatorium here in downtown Dallas. We have tremendous card tonight, a great double main event, and we have with us gorgeous Jimmy Garvin. Now, Jim Garvin.
This is not going to like us, is it?
As you know, has refused to be televised. Of
course, it only works when, we're, trying to, do a pod. It doesn't work when we're trying to do a podcast. It works great, though, during the rest of the week.
One of his wrestling bouts. But gorgeous.
Okay. Yeah, that's... Unfortunately, that is probably not going to work here. We'll try again a little bit later for the next bit of audio. But, so if you recall last week, Jimmy Garvin had a thing that he was not going to wrestle on TV at all. That he's, he doesn't want to be videotaped and have people discover his flaws. Not that he has any flaws, of course. But he doesn't want anyone to potentially find some, even though, like he said, he claims they don't exist. Anyway, this week he's had a change of heart. He's had a change of heart because someone finally accepted his challenge. He says he studied for hours and hours, and he's looked at all this footage of David Von Erich. And he said he will only wrestle David on TV if David is man enough to put the Texas heavyweight title on the line. Garvin said he's going to teach him manners. He's going to teach him what professional wrestling is all about. And Mercer had the Boyd Pierce reaction when Garvin said he's going to show David what pro wrestling is all about. Boyd did it better, though. By the way, tonight's card, Kerry Von Erich versus Michael Hayes, and the other two Von Erichs, Kevin and David, will take on the other two Freebirds, Gordy and Roberts. Plus, we're going to have a feature on Iceman Parsons. Yay. So we go to the ring for our first match. It is Bill Irwin versus John Mantell. There were so many people in the ring before the intros that I honestly thought this had to be a tag team match. But like literally everybody else in the ring was a ring attendant to take everyone's robes and their accoutrements, and the cameramen were in there and the audio men were in there. And eventually everyone got the hell out of the ring, and it was just Bill Irwin and Johnny Mantell. Now, for some reason that Bill Mercer does not explain, and I'm sure, you know, if you're a regular world-class viewer, you may actually know why. But for some reason, the fans are taunting Bill Irwin by calling him Chauncey. Chauncey. Is his name secretly Chandler and his fiance's father can't remember that? I don't know. Anyway, Irwin is the most recent former Texas heavyweight champion, but he had lost the belt to David. Mantell is not necessarily popular as much as the fans just don't like poor Chauncey. This was a very basic match built around arm drags of all things, but I'll tell you what, when a crowd is busting their nuts on arm drags, then why kill yourself? Chauncey fought back with a pair of punches to the face. The referee tried to admonish him, and he yelled at the ref to shut up, which the referee did, so hey, you know, whatever works, I guess. Irwin had the match won a few times. It would do lackadaisical covers, and Mantell would kick out. Mantell uses a chop to the throat. Personally, if someone chopped me in the throat, I would have just stayed down, but Irwin hooked the ropes. They reversed a bunch of small packages. Irwin got a near fall with a knee drop. Mantell got a few more of his own. And then the bell rang because this match went to the 10-minute time limit. So, first match, time limit draw. Go to commercial, we come back for our next match, which is Tola Yatsu with Armand Hussein in his corner versus Mike Borne. Now I'm going to try to play the audio of this one more time here. Fingers crossed, if this doesn't work out, then, you know, we're shit out of luck this week with world-class audio anyway, but let's try.
Here comes King Kong Bundy. Now, Bundy said he wanted to talk to us, but he's going right on by, going down to the ring. As Armand Hussein and Bronco Lubitsch discuss something, and they're really having an animated argument. Here comes King Kong Bundy. Bundy says, shut up, and goes to pick up the microphone, and here he is.
Hussein! The boss sent me down here to make an announcement. This area ain't big enough for both of our organizations. It's time for a showdown. The Great Kabuki's back 100%. So you let us know anywhere you want it to be. It's fine with us. Anytime, any place. You're going to be gone.
Well, there's... Here we go. Bundy, Yatsu, and Hussein. And of course, this all stems back to Yatsu, very seriously injured, the Great Kabuki, when he dropped.
All right. So hey, we at least got almost that entire audio there, so yippee. So you heard it. King Kong Bundy came out. He yelled at Hussein that the boss sent him out here. And the boss, of course, is our old friend from Mid-South, General Skandor Akbar. And they say that this area is not big enough for both Armand Hussein and Armand Hussein's organization and Akbar's organization. And now that Kabuki is back, he's back 100%. They won a match, and Bundy promises that Hussein will be gone once they have that match. And at that point, Hussein got into Bundy's face. This is what you don't, of course, see because, we play audio, not video here. But Armand Hussein gets in Bundy's face and gets knocked down, leading to a confrontation between Bundy and Tola Yatsu. Yatsu poses at Bundy. Bundy glares at him, and then they leave and vow to fight another day. So the match, and I forget if I've actually said the match, but the match is Mike Bond versus Tola Yatsu. Bond runs at Yatsu at the bell, but Yatsu asked him to stop, and Bond did. That's nice of him. Yatsu did this pre-match ritual that we discussed last week, and then it was on. This was all Yatsu. He hit what was called a go-around body suplex, according to Mercer, but the rest of us will just call it a gut wrench. You've certainly heard this before, but Bronco Lubitsch is just an awful referee. He doesn't even get down for the count. Armand at one point yells at Bond to just give up, which apparently was Bond's cue to start his comeback. He did a monkey flip and then went to the well once too often and took a headbutt to the chest for his effort. Sorry about that. Yatsu used a really nice snap power slam and then one with the stomach claw. Honestly, the snap power slam would have been a better finish, but, that's just me. All right, so after the match, Bill Mercer is going to ask Armand Hussein about Bundy's challenge, and we're going to try to play the audio of that here as well. Fingers crossed, tap on wood.
Armand Hussein, Bundy has issued you a challenge. How do you want it? Bundy and Yatsu, Kabuki and Yatsu? What is your answer?
It doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter who. I got the greatest wrestler in the world today, and he's proven it to the world out there. Without the cooperation of my fabulous attorney, Mr. Tim Banner, helping me get the great Kabuki into these United States, I wouldn't be able to do this. But anywhere Kabuki wants to meet, anywhere King Kong Bundy, Kamala, the boss, any of them, it doesn't matter to the great Tola Yatsu and me where it be. Just name the spot, and I'll have my man there. You can rest assured on that.
Very good. Thank you, Armand.
You're welcome.
Okay. That was a very polite ending for a heel promo, at least. I'm thinking this is a heel promo because, I don't know, they come across as total heels here, even though they're in a feud with another heel group. But they ask Armand about Bundy's challenge. Armand says he does not care what the actual match is. He does thank his lawyer, the great Mr. Tim Banner, for getting Kabuki into this country. So in case you're curious who you have to blame, it's Mr. Tim Banner, a famous attorney, apparently. But it's his fault, or, it's thanks to him, however you want to look at it, that Kabuki is here in wrestling. But anyway, he says that he accepts the challenge. And like I said, they were so polite. Mercer thanked him for his time, and Armand stuck around long enough to thank him. To say you're welcome, which not enough heels, say that, when they get the chance here to do a little bit of a promo here. We then go to an Iceman King Parsons video. There literally wasn't much to this. They showed Iceman dragging around giant blocks of ice, and he carried them on his back. Apparently, he still does his shoot job while wrestling. I guess that's a nice way to get double pay. We see him breaking blocks of ice with his head at one point. This was, like I said, just a music video of Iceman, nothing to play. But if you desperately want to hear the network edit over whatever music was actually played, go to Peacock and check it out. David Von Erich showed up to cut a quick promo that we're not going to play, but he accepts Jimmy Garvin's challenge. I know you're surprised to hear that. And then we go to the first of our two main events. It is Kerry Von Erich versus Michael Hayes. Mercer reminds us what happened on Christmas 1982 with Kerry and Flair, and Michael Hayes, slamming the cage door on Kerry's head. Hayes tries to outsmart Kerry early in the match, but it doesn't work, and Kerry sends him flying out of the ring. Despite his hatred of Hayes for costing him the world title, Kerry's out wrestling him because it will do more to show his superiority by winning a clean, scientific match than a brawl. Hayes tries to repeatedly cheap shot Kerry, but it wouldn't work out for him. It finally takes Hayes to roll out of his way on a knee drop for him to finally take over. Hayes works over the knee, which apparently Kerry has had surgery on, and now Hayes is working it over. And so the fans are just losing their shit, hoping that, Kerry can make a comeback here. But ultimately it doesn't last long because Kerry does a schoolboy out of nowhere to pick up the win. After the match, Hayes continues the attack. Gordy and Roberts hit the ring to join in for a 3-on-1 beating. The fans were frothing at the mouth for this. And I know you're shocked to hear that when Kerry's getting beaten down 3-on-1, that Kevin and David ran in for the save, and the Freebirds bailed to the back. David gets on the mic and demands Gordy and Roberts turn around and come right back out now for the match, which we're going to have after this commercial break. Do you like wrestling? Do you like podcasts? Listen to something else. And now, back to something else. Thank you, commercial break. So, we now have the second main event, Buddy Roberts and Terry Gordy versus Kevin and David Von Erich. David and Kevin were almost arguing over who should start the match. David won that argument and started with Gordy, but before they even tied up, David ran over and tagged Kevin in. Whatever. Kevin stunned Gordy with a few punches and then tagged out. So Kevin gave Roberts a really nice drop kick. David tagged in and showed he had a time machine to fast forward to watching 1996 Booty Man matches as he hit the high knee on Buddy Roberts. However, David Von Erich is no Brutus Beefcake, so Roberts was able to get back in the match. Gordy gets on the sleeper, but David got on one of his own. Gordy was saved by the fact that they were in the Freebird corner, so Roberts tagged in and booted David in the yap. Kevin gets in and almost gets the claw on, but the Freebirds stop it. Kevin hits a moonsault of all things on Buddy and a four-way breakout, and we just get some great brawling here. And I know a lot of it, it's like, Terry Gordy's here, and David Von Erichs has had a great reputation, but it's like, these four, and I'm going to, the understatement of the year, they work really well together, and it's just a great brawl. And eventually, Kevin gets Gordy tied in the ropes and slaps on the iron claw. Bronco Lubick tries to break it up, so Kevin kicks him away and actually gets himself disqualified. That's right, Kevin Von Erich is disqualified for kicking at the referee. David tries to pry Kevin off Gordy, but Kevin only waited around long enough for Gordy to be out of the ropes before diving back on with the iron claw again. Finally, everything is broken up. Everyone goes their separate ways. The crowd is losing their shit about this. Like, we've been talking about it. We've been watching this every week. Oh, we've been watching every week for 2 weeks now. But this crowd loves them some Von Erichs. They hate them some Freebirds. And this is just insane to watch and listen to because I don't care how much better the actual in-ring wrestling is in 2024, you will never see such an absurd reaction just every week to something like this. Yeah, if you have someone in their hometown going for the world title, you're going to have an insane reaction. But you're not going to get that every single week, as we've seen over the past year or two. This shit was happening weekly. The fans are fucking blowing the roof off here for Kevin, David, and Kerry Von Erich. And this is just the beginning. This feud has a long way to go. We're only 2.5 months in. And believe me, this thing's going on for a bit longer. Anyway, we're going to try to play the show-ending promo here, because yes, the show is already over. Bill Mercer talking to the Von Erichs. Fingers crossed, hopefully this works.
A group of Von Erichs who are wild and enthused, even though you didn't get a win, it was a moral victory.
Like I said, Bill, tonight was not a victory, but it was a moral victory for the Von Erichs because we did exactly what we set out to do. We destroyed him and we hurt him, and that's what we're going to do every time we step inside that ring with the Freebirds.
Just a minute. No, that ain't it. I want Terry Gordy in a no DQ match. I want him with no rules, no referee, no nothing. I want my belt back, but most of all, I want Terry Gordy back. I want Terry Gordy, and I just don't want to just beat him. I want to hurt him.
All right, Kerry.
As you see, Bill, as you see, you got brothers fighting amongst brothers. We're all, you know, in order to fight a snake, you got to crawl on your belly with him. First of all, they tried to put me out 3 times. Tonight, they tried to tie my legs together and finish me off once and for all.
Well, they're not going to do
baby,
it.
no way.
All right.
We'll tie it up, baby, you and me.
Okay, the Von Erichs who are really angry. Next week, David Von Erich and gorgeous Jim Garvin and the Texas title. Right here on World Class Championship Wrestling. Good night.
All right. So that was an intense promo. I gotta tell you, especially from Kevin. Kevin, motherfucking, hey, that boy, he wants Gordy. He wants no DQ. He wants no referee. We'll see how that plays out. But he wants to hurt Terry Gordy. And David and Kerry are trying to, be the nice, clean-cut babyface here. But this was all about Kevin, even though Kerry got to finish things off with a line about how you have to crawl like a snake in order to fight a snake. And, it ends with the acknowledgement that next week it's David Von Erich versus gorgeous Jimmy Garvin for the Texas title. And, these shows are just a lot of fun. And it's easy to see how this territory exploded in popularity. But that's going to do it for this week's show. I'm going to thank everybody for listening. I hope you all enjoyed it. And we're going to play our outro music here. Once it starts playing is when we wrap it up here. There we go. Thank you all for listening. And I'll talk to you again in 7 days.
wrestling fans. Welcome to this week's edition of Mid-South Wrestling Television Network. I'm your host, Boyd Pierce. We have a lot of exciting action. This week's card will be headlined by an outstanding tag team match. The Mid-South Tag Team Champions, Matt Borne and Ted DiBiase, in the ring against the terrific twosome of Tiger Conway Jr. and Mr. Wrestling 2 in a non-title match. The Black Ninja is here, also Mr. Olympia ready for action. We have a lot of excitement, a lot of things that have happened in the past, and to tell you about it, our guest commentator, Cowboy Bill Watts.
Well, Boyd, it should be an exciting evening. Like you said, that tag match should be a really great one, and Mr. Olympia back. He made such a great debut returning to Mid-South after an enforced vacation. Houston, Texas, lots of action. They've got a great promoter there, Paul Bosch. He was a top-notch wrestler in his day. He's been a great philanthropist as well as promoter in Houston, and lots of action there. And February the 11th, there was a match between Mr. Wrestling 2 and the Iron Sheik, the man who brags about being the Khomeiни's bodyguard. Well, I'll tell you, it didn't impress Wrestling 2. He treated the Iron Sheik like he had a relative that was one of those people that was kidnapped and held for 444 days. Let's join the final moments of that in Houston, Texas.
So the man from Iran comes to that, there again, he come around there with that swift and penetrating blow, a good one. That's the knee lift that that the Wrestling 2 is going to add to the arsenal of the Junkyard Dog when they go after the tag team title of Mid-South. That's the way you feel when that lays in there. Yes, a lot of people have tried to use knee lifts, but it is the manner that Wrestling 2 uses it. It is the employment of the timing, the exact timing to get the force of the knee lift to hit him at exactly the right moment when it's at the peak of its power. And a rip across the masked face. You see him now using the edge of that hand, which has become a universal way of delivering blows and is employed by most of the countries in the world. Whether it's effective for all men or against all men remains to be seen. It's just another way of delivering a punishing blow. 10 minutes have gone by, and 2 is catching it. And as the Sheik comes in, there he goes, driving that toe up into the throat of Wrestling 2, and I would say that he can't drive that toe up there without having one of those hooks catch something about his opponent. So the Sheik does the pounding. Now listen to the hooting sound of 2, 2, 2. They are calling on their idol, and this is what he is to them, to bounce back against the Iron Sheik. That was close, but he squirmed, literally squirmed out from underneath and was ready with the knee lift. And 2, when he gets mad, can deliver a lot of effective blows, and oh, what a crash landing. He used the front headlock and turned him over, but he couldn't hold him there. Now that was a questionable blow, and here is the Sheik with his hard lift and suplex, and then behind goes 2. He started to roll him up, but he never quite made it. And here is it. The Iranian came down with a crash that time. A switch. Oh, how he drove that knee there. There it is. Wrestling number 2 comes in there to score a win.
Now you see why nobody really looks forward to facing Mr. Wrestling 2, a tenacious, a tough man, because he just beat a man that's a tough man, Iron Sheik, who's been giving Captain Redneck Dick Murdoch all he wants up there in Atlanta. He came to Houston and tried Wrestling 2. and he got beat. And now we'll go on to bigger and better things, we hope, as we go to Jack Curtis later after these words from Mid-South Wrestling.
This event, 1 fall or 10 minutes. Introducing from the Far East, the Black Ninja. His opponent, Ron Ellis.
The introduction of the event, 1 fall or 10-minute time limit, the Black Ninja, Kendo Nagasaki versus the purple trunk-clad Ron Ellis. As you see Rick Ferreira move Ellis back out of the way as Kinja goes through the ceremonial dance, Bill.
It reminds me somewhat of a sumo type maneuver with the feet work, and then of course with that kendo stick, which is what they used to practice the ancient art of samurai sword fighting with. But those kendo sticks, when you say practice the art of sword fighting, they can be very devastating. They're multi-layers of bamboo, and you see they have to wear tremendous padding that he's disrobing from now, even when they practice the kendo arts. And these are ancient things, very ceremonial, very ritualistic. This man has challenged, apparently, the Junkyard Dog, who again today is not here at Mid-South Wrestling. The dog will be here next week. Kendo Nagasaki, the Black Ninja, as ring announcer Jack Curtis so aptly put it. Kendo Nagasaki doesn't waste any time to hammering Ron Ellis. I'll tell you, when you are a rookie, it must be with a lot of butterflies in the pit of your stomach when you got to face something like this. And he just got those butterflies even shocked right then as Kendo Nagasaki hit him with a thrust kick. It's into the nerve claw behind the trapezes. That face painted, and of course he's not bald-headed there. That all looks like that. That is a ritualistic hair style that's of the people that are in the art of the ninja. Very secretive sect. Known for stealth. Kendo Nagasaki, who is martially challenged the Junkyard Dog, and it's just like waiting for a volcano to explode as to when these two are going to meet and what's going to be the outcome. Show some fine wrestling ability right there. That's a very neat Greco-Roman type maneuver. The ninja are more accomplished in all facets of the martial arts. They've gone into some black arts even. Look at that chop. He's leveling Ron Ellis. A very confident man, very powerful built man. Good size for an Oriental. That's the end of Ron Ellis.
The Black Ninja, Kendo Nagasaki.
Did you notice Skandor Akbar out there watching? Boy, I just caught that out of the corner of my eye. I wonder if he could have some, or be looking to gain some control of this man. You know, Akbar's seen him and maybe been impressed. We don't know yet who calls this guy's shots.
And he not only watched it, but when his hand raised in victory, Akbar was applauding. We'll be back after this word from Mid-South Wrestling. Wrestling fans, here with me at the television table, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who wanted to sit here. He's not on this week's card, and He wanted to match.
I want to
you
show
fans
some of these
see.
people.
You can show the fans, but first we're going to show them a match here on December the 8th, 1982, when you, Hacksaw Duggan, wrestled the top Mexican star, Chavo Guerrero.
Yeah, that figures. That's Chavo Guerrero. That's that Mexican type of way to do things. He's going to use that for a vehicle to promote himself for as long as he can. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you a little story behind the scenes. Hacksaw Duggan flew all night that night because I was caught in a snowstorm up north. I come in here, Chavo Guerrero, that little gnat, he's been so proud of himself with this tape, he's showing it around to all his relatives. He's got so many, just like a little cockroach that he is. He's all over the place. He's a little wet behind the ears, too, if you know what I mean.
All right.
Let me tell you something, Boyd Pierce. Let me tell you something, Boyd Pierce. He's using this excuse. He never beat me in this tape. You watch this monitor right here, and you watch what beat Hacksaw Duggan. That wasn't Chavo Guerrero. That was a ring post.
Let's watch the match right now and decide for ourselves.
And looks like he's seriously into this competition now, that he really wants to start taking Chavo apart. Tremendous forearm, shades of Dory Funk Jr. Quick, tremendous forearm. You see the explosion, the complete body movement he gets into it, the follow-through. He drives it in with all 235 pounds. But Hacksaw Duggan fires right back. And you see the difference, about 40 pounds of difference and about 6 or 8 inches in height. Hacksaw driving the knees in, and that's where he got that name, Hacksaw Duggan. He's like a hacksaw. He just doesn't stop. He keeps coming. But Chavo gets out of the way, and Duggan still hasn't been able to measure Chavo with a 3 count. And that's what it's all about. Until you put him down or put him out, the match is not over. And Chavo is attacking those knees. He's kicking that Duggan's leg right in the hamstring. I'll guarantee you that hamstring starts contracting and cramping up. Duggan loses these wheels. I don't give a darn how big you are. If you can't move and can't go, you're not going to beat anybody. Andre the Giant, 7'4", 485. When Killer Khan cracked his ankle, he was out for 5 weeks, and it was a long, painful road back. And Chavo is going for Duggan's wheels. He knows that no matter how big you are, you can't go and can't motor. Of course, Duggan is fighting a battle of the Alamo right there, it looks like, because he's trying to fight Chavo off. He realizes that Chavo's nose and the Achilles tendon of any athlete is his legs. Chavo shows some infighting there, some real street fighting with quick, short elbows. Now they're matching it toe-to-toe, and Chavo's not backing down, and he uses that quickness to sneak those quick, short shots to keep Duggan just a little off balance, keep goading him like a bull in an arena, to keep him really mad. And now he uncorks an uppercut, and he brings Hacksaw Duggan to his knees. Chavo Guerrero out there, walking tall. The Rat Pack may not be so close. I think they, like Duggan, had overestimated this situation. Duggan going for the spear. Chavo got out of the way, and Duggan ran his head into that steel turnbuckle, and Chavo sunset flip. 1, 2, 3. Chavo Guerrero. David just flew Goliath right here on TV.
Chavo's happy, and the fans are happy.
Oh, man, Boyd Pierce, I don't think the Rat Pack was prepared for this, or else DiBiase and Borne would have been out there close to try to help Duggan. And Chavo, and Duggan's head is split wide open from hitting that steel turnbuckle. He is really mad. Look at him. His head is split wide open. He hit that steel turnbuckle, and Chavo jumped up out of the way, and it scattered his brains for a minute, and Chavo got the 3.
That figures. That's just what I mean. He's going to use that tape as long as he can. He's going to go around bragging how he beat Hacksaw Duggan. Well, you people saw yourself, Boyd Pierce, and everybody knows that Hacksaw Duggan didn't get beat by no gnat Chavo Guerrero. Hacksaw Duggan got beat by the turnbuckle or the corner post of that ring right there. After a long night, up all night flying, I have to come in here and fight this little man. He shouldn't even be in the ring. What's he doing? I want to show my tape of what happens. And I want you to know, Chavo Guerrero, look at this tape real close. Take a real good look at it and see what happens to Mr. Big Guns, Tony Atlas, when he has something to do with Hacksaw Duggan. Chavo's real proud of himself. He wants to go around and show this film to everybody. I'm sure he's got it in a big, safe can because he doesn't want to lose it. You know why he doesn't want to lose it? Because down in his guts, he knows that's the only time, I'm telling you, Boyd Pierce, that he's going to have Hacksaw Duggan down on that mat. That's when Hacksaw Duggan runs into the post. That's the only way.
And we'll be fair about it. We're going to show the match.
Show my match.
December the 15th, 1982, Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Tony Atlas. Let's watch that match. This is the one he wants us to see.
Yeah.
They're going to arm wrestle Boyd Pierce, a personal challenge for pride. They're going for pride as well as the Louisiana title. And people are chanting JYD. Tony Atlas says he's down here for his friend, who Hacksaw Duggan in the gorilla suit made a fool. Look at Atlas. He's putting Hacksaw's arm down just like he wasn't even there to show you that power. And Duggan is a man, like he says, he has no regard for his own personal safety. He's like a one-man gang. He's turned many a bar room into a parking lot as he's stomped some people around, and he's the battling dude. All-American at SMU, kicked out of the National Football League for refusing to obey the spear rule, and he's after Mr. USA Tony Atlas. This just had to happen. This has to be settled among these two men with the coveted Louisiana title at stake. Tony Atlas putting that big ham bone right up against him, showing that he's got some moves. He's got some moves, Tony Atlas. He can boogie. Exciting young athlete, and Hacksaw Duggan finding out Tony Atlas just how powerful he's headed. And Duggan's getting a little bit scattered here. And Tony is really whacking him. And Hacksaw is down on the floor. Hacksaw trying to collect these whips. Hacksaw trying to collect these whips. DiBiase out there. Matt Borne calling for time. DiBiase with a towel, wiping the sweat off of Hacksaw, trying to re-gear him there. Ricky Ferrara wants to see what's in that towel. It's smart referees checking out that towel. Tony Atlas keeping out. Matt Borne sneaking up from behind, but Tony Atlas has caught him. Atlas caught him and his headbutt him. DiBiase had a protest. Atlas pulled DiBiase into the ring. He has forced DiBiase into the ring. And Atlas is whipping him. Ricky Ferrara got caught in the way. What's Hacksaw Duggan over there sneaking in? Hacksaw Duggan sneaking in. There's Atlas. Hacksaw Duggan putting on something. Hacksaw putting on something. And he speared Tony Atlas. Hacksaw Duggan has speared Tony Atlas. Something came flying off his head. He's put it in his tights. He's got Tony Atlas down. And referee Rick Ferrara making the count. Hacksaw Duggan winning this match. The Rat Pack. The Rat Pack.
Different story there, Boyd Pierce. A different story there. Mr. All Muscles, No Brain, learns his lesson. I hope Chavo Guerrero, sitting at home, make sure he's got the channel on, the volume turned up, so he can see what he just got himself into.
The Rat Pack always wins, as you say, but it also appears to me that it always takes the entire Rat Pack to win it.
Wait a minute. You come out here and say that kind of stuff. The Rat Pack, we take care of each other. We keep an eye on each other. That's something that nobody else in Mid-South does.
And we'll be right back after this word from Mid-South Wrestling.
Boy, during the last commercial break, a lot of things happened. You can see the whole crowd is in an uproar. Lots of things happen. At the base of it all is this suitcase right here that has a lot of the paraphernalia similar to what's been happening to Mr. Wrestling 2. There's a mask that is crimson colored, the paints to do it, letters to Wrestling 2, other masks, a doll in here, Wrestling 2 tights, a bunch of stuff. We're going to go to the match that's in the ring with ring announcer Jack Curtis. We'll try to get to the end of this after this next bout.
This event, a four-man tag team bout. One fall or 10 minutes. Introducing the Mid-South Tag Team Champions, Ted DiBiase and Matt Borne. Their opponents in this non-title bout, Tiger Conway Jr. and Mr. Wrestling number 2. Tag
team action now. The Mid-South Tag Team Champions, Ted DiBiase and Matt Borne, versus the terrific twosome of Mr. Wrestling 2 and Tiger Conway Jr. This is a non-title match, but that should slow down the action none at all, Bill.
Well, feelings are high, I can assure you of that. Wrestling 2 is just livid, and the altercation happened between Wrestling 2 and Mr. Olympia. And Mr. Olympia, as he went by, as I was coming out of the dressing room, said, "That man's crazy. Get him away from me." It just so happened that during the commercial break, this argument broke out. And we're going to try to see if we can get to the bottom of it. Right now, the non-title match out there, Wrestling 2 and Tiger Conway Jr. against DiBiase and Borne. And you should see a barn burner. Look at Tiger Conway Jr. showing that he has got a lot of style. Quick movement, drop kick. Telling you non-stop action. This bout could be a main event anywhere, right here on Mid-South Wrestling. You fans at home and your appreciation and inviting us into your home each week is what makes Mid-South Wrestling the #1 rated television wrestling show in the nation today. It's always a pleasure when after the rating periods are over that the executives from the different TV stations call and tell us how glad they are to have Mid-South Wrestling and what a great job it's doing for their station. And of course, I just want to pass that on to you folks because your viewing audience, the viewing audience, is what gives us those ratings. And of course, that inspires Grizzly Smith to constantly have the best athletes possible here on Mid-South Wrestling. Speaking of that, in 2 weeks, midgets. Next week, the Super Destroyer will be here from Atlanta. Also, a monster of a man, King Kong Bundy. Killer Brooks, Chavo Guerrero will be here next week, and a bout with Nick Bockwinkel, the AWA champion. Tony Atlas will be here. And a match with Kamala, the Ugandan warrior, a star-studded card next week. But right here, we're in the midst of a lot of action. Mr. Olympia is scheduled to wrestle here today on Mid-South Wrestling. Wrestling 2 out there. Right now, Ted DiBiase against Tiger Conway Jr. A lot of second-generation wrestlers out there. DiBiase's father was a great Iron Mike DiBiase, was fatally injured in the ring. Of course, Tiger Conway Jr.'s father, a very successful businessman in Houston, former wrestling great. Matt Borne's father, Tough Tony Borne, was one of the first big main eventers that I wrestled in the first year of my career. So there's a lot of guys out there with tough upbringing, background, but like I said before, that all their dad's reputation doesn't help them. They have to earn their own reputation, and there against the man right there who has earned his reputation. He didn't ask for anybody's respect. He demanded it. He's a very private person. He's got a tremendous amount of pride, and this thing about this defamation of symbolicism of his masks and his tights has really had him just livid for several months. He's been almost paranoid in his search for who has been perpetrating these things against him. And you can see him, he's fired up out there, and Ted DiBiase has just found out what it is to face Wrestling 2 as you hear the crowd go 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. You can see him right there in the crowd, and you think this doesn't inspire him on. He's at a low boil all the time anyway. We just got word from Director Oil Inc. that he, during that commercial break, he had the cameras panning the area, and that he caught part of that argument between Wrestling 2 and Mr. Olympia on tape. Certainly, we'll try to get Mr. Wrestling 2 down here after that match and ask him just what set him off and try to get to the bottom of this. Now, Tiger Conway Jr., he wants that crowd behind him, too. Matt Borne, collar and elbow, goes over into a wrist lock, spins under it to tighten it up. Tiger Conway's going to unload on him, and referee Alfred Neely cautions him. Matt Borne in for a quick one into the solar plexus area. Oh, showing some agility of his own, and a fine drop kick by Matt Borne. And he caught Tiger Conway. Might have surprised him. Oftentimes people will get into a guy's style and think that they know every move he's going to make, and he'll surprise them. these top pros have to go with this change of pace, keep each other off guard. And DiBiase just caught another one, and Tiger Conway is firing away, and DiBiase is mad. I don't know if DiBiase kid's having a hard time getting in the ring or even staying on the ring apron. A lot of emotion between these two teams. They had run Tiger Conway's head into DiBiase's knee, but it didn't have the desired effect for DiBiase and the two members of the Rat Pack. And of course, Dugan's around, so you never know what'll happen. With Hacksaw Dugan and the Rat Pack, they call it a pack attack. Tiger Conway really carrying the battle out there. Turnbuckle to DiBiase, but DiBiase got out of the way when Tiger came for the shoulder block. Tiger may be in a world of trouble there. It only takes one mistake in a match of this caliber, and it can cost you the whole bout. Matt Borne trying to pick him up in a vertical suplex. Couldn't get it, but Tiger Conway muscled Matt Borne up. And he wanted him to tag two. Listen to him holler, 2, 2, 2. And Tiger's going for the tag. He knows he's got to get the fresh man in there. DiBiase's on the rush, but Wrestler 2 got in. And 2 firing away at DiBiase. Wrestling 2, a man who just comes at you like a whole herd of cattle on a stampede. There's just no way to miss. 2 down, Borne coming in, Neely catches him, but while Neely's distracted, Matt Borne coming off the top rope. That should be a disqualification, but of course Neely trying to put Tiger Conway out of the ring. And now Matt Borne and Tiger Conway are into a fight. But Wrestler 2 is hurt. Got bodies laying everywhere. Alfred Neely trying to sort it out. Now Ted DiBiase going for the fall. Looks like it's over for 2. 2 got out. 2 spun out. I thought DiBiase had him after that bombs away by Matt Borne. DiBiase trying to load that glove. And Neely staying on top of him. DiBiase trying to load that glove. Alfred Neely trying to... DiBiase went for it, but 2 got out of the way. He throws a knee lift for the last ounce of strength. Borne's coming in the ring with a chair. Borne is measuring 2, but Tiger Conway came off the top. The referee is down. It's out of control. Wrestler 2 throwing a knee lift. He's covered Matt Borne, but the referee's not there. Tiger Conway has helped the referee into the ring. Boy, I'm telling you, I'm out of breath and out of voice. That was a wild one, and a victory goes to Wrestler 2 and Tiger Conway Jr. And look at that crowd.
And we'll be back, Bill, with more action right after this word as you see the hands raised of Tiger Conway Jr. and Mr. Wrestling 2.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, before this non-title bout between Wrestling 2 and Tiger Conway against DiBiase and Borne, we had told you that during the commercial break there was an altercation between Wrestling 2 and Mr. Olympia, 2 very unlikely people to get into it, and all was over this suitcase. And I think I'll let you start to tell us about it, because Oral Link, our director, with the cameras going, when he saw the altercation up there, he taped it, and we do have a copy of that, a VTR videotape of some of the altercation, but I think we're all a little bit in the dark.
Bill, when he was out in the ring having his match, this suitcase was lying down where he was. One of the guys happened to bump against it and it fell open. This is what I saw. Now, when he came back in the dressing room, I asked him, man to man, is this your suitcase? He says, What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I says, answer me, man. Is this your suitcase?
Well,
yes or no?
First of all, for the fans at home, there's a set of tights similar to what you wear. There's a couple of masks like yours, and this one, of course, has been doctored with paints to show a wounded mask, and there's a doll here, and
down the center of it.
this says wrestling. What does this say here? Wrestling 2, your pillow has been ordered so you can take your long overdue rest. I know your knee has lost its power, so don't hurt yourself anymore. And 2, you're a very confused man at this point. Don't worry, you will know when it hits you. And a lot of different things in here.
Umpteen letters in here that I'm sure they're very appropriate for the man that wrote them. Let me tell you something, Bill. You know me for a long time, man. I'm a straight-up guy. I don't pull punches one way or the other with anybody. I tell it like it is, no matter who it hurts. And this, of all people, I cannot believe that Olympia is the man behind all this, but the obvious thing is that these are my masks, this is my clothes, this is the paint that he's been clearing with. Hey,
well,
it's like black and white. It's right here.
Let's show that altercation just a second, and again, let's try to collect our thoughts while that's going on, because although there's a preponderance of evidence right here, let's wait until, there's two sides to every story, and I think even the fans, there's maybe more to this than meets the eye. If Oral Link will show that while he's showing it, let's calm down and collect ourselves a little bit here. Well, certainly, while we reviewed that, and maybe you've had time to calm down a little bit, I know just how much this has bothered you. I think I know it more than anybody because we have known each other for a long time, and you are a straight-up guy, and you've told me just how this has upset you and your whole family. But also, this is the United States. And in the United States, there's two sides to every story, and I think somebody is innocent until proven guilty, and we haven't had a chance yet to question Mr. Olympia. And Mr. Olympia, if you recall, when you got injured from a situation around this same property situation with Akbar and Kamala, he's the one that volunteered and took your place with Stagger Lee. And he was forced to leave, and he hadn't even been here. And now here his second week back. It looks like you say, certainly we can see the evidence is here. But I think, let's give it a time and let's wait. And what we'll do, he's scheduled to wrestle next. We'll, after his match, we'll get him out here. We'll confront him with this, and we'll hear his side of it. I think at first I would like to congratulate you both on that great victory over DiBiase and Borne. And I understand. I certainly understand.
Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate it.
Okay, we'll be back after these messages from Mid-South.
This event 1 fall or 10 minutes. Introducing from Rome, Georgia, Marty Lundy. His opponent from somewhere in the USA, Mr. Olympia.
1 fall, 10-minute time limit match. Rome, Georgia's Marty Lundy versus Mr. Olympia as Rick Pereira calls for the bell.
Well, you know, it's really getting thick, and of course, we're going to try to interview Mr. Olympia after this bout with Marty Lundy, and I'm sure he's very upset too, you know, because he's just come back and he's fighting for his position in Mid-South Wrestling, and it seems like maybe the cards are stacked against him. I would certainly hate to think that he would be at the bottom of all this. Snapmare. And he drives it in. Olympia always an aggressive wrestler. Of course, right now he seems a little more aggressive than usual, but I'm sure that he's a little bit upset about the events here today also, Lloyd. It's something I can understand wrestling too, and the intensity with which he competes, the way he lives his life, and somebody's invaded that life with a very sinister type mental attack, which is sometimes more devastating than the straight up and down physical attack. You know, even in World War II, when men were being physically tortured, they seemed to be able to withstand that more than the mental tortures of Korea and Vietnam. And certainly the unknown has got oftentimes been proven beyond a shadow of doubt to have bigger fear factor or disconcerting factor than something everybody knows. Sleeper hold. Mr. Olympia's got the sleeper. The crowd is singing good night to Marty Lundy as Mr. Olympia makes short work of Marty Lundy, a powerful young man, and gains another victory. After this commercial break, Boyd, we'll try to talk to Mr. Olympia.
We'll be right back after this word from Mid-South Wrestling. Watts has left our table and intercepted Mr. Olympia after his match. Let's go to the ring. Bill Watts and Mr. Olympia.
As you see, we have another match scheduled, but we promised you we'd talk to Mr. Olympia. And Mr. Olympia, I know you're upset about this, as you voiced to me during the commercial break, but I do have to say and state the facts. This is your suitcase.
Bill, I don't know what's going on. I've been gone. For 60 long days, I've been gone, and now here this comes up. I took Wrestling 2's place.
I know
Out of the bottom of my heart, I took his place.
Let's just answer the question. Is this your suitcase? That's what he meant. Is this your suitcase?
Yes, that's my suitcase. Obviously, somebody else has put something in it, though.
Well, there's a lot of things. You've never seen any of this paraphernalia?
I don't know how this got here. I hadn't done any of that. That's my suitcase, but I had other things in it.
Well, certainly I don't see anything that I recognize as yours.
I don't see how the man can blame me for something like this. Because I stood behind JYD through thick and thin. And Wrestling 2 got hurt right here on TV. And I took his place. Out of the goodness of my heart, I had to take a vacation, 60 long days. But let me tell you something, 2, or no matter who it is, I don't back down from nobody. Well, I'm not backing up. So if 2 don't lay off me, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be trouble. Because I'm not going to back up.
Well, I know that in the heat of the moment that both of you are upset, and you both got it right. He naturally, I think you can understand, under the persecution he's been under, and certainly you being falsely accused. I can understand.
I don't know what's going on. No, I have no idea. I've been gone. I don't know what the man's been going through, but now he's blaming me for it.
We did want to get you out here and in front of everybody ask you, and you've denied any of these in there. I don't see any of your personal belongings in here, and certainly a lot of things have happened. We saw the things Paul Orndorff pull. We saw the things Ted DiBiase. So we've seen a lot of things happen here. We've seen the things Hacksaw Dugan pull. So somebody could definitely be at the bottom of this besides you. And certainly I want to believe that, as does everybody here and everybody at home. I'd say this, let's let a week go by. Let's both calm down and let's just try to get to the bottom of it. Right now we'll go back to Boyd Pierce.
And Jack Curtis and the 4 contestants of the tag team match are in the ring. Let's go for the introduction.
this event one fall with TV time remaining. Introducing a four-man tag team bout, Ron Kessler and Kelly Kaniski. Their opponents in this bout, Art Cruz and Tim Horner.
Tag team action now being introduced. One fall or TV time remaining. Kelly Kaniski and Ron Kessler as Alfred Neely called for the bell on one team. Across the way, Tim Horner in the ring now in the maroon tights and his partner on the outside from Kansas, Art Cruz. Kelly Kaniski and Tim Horner representing their teams. Kaniski in the blue tights from Vancouver, British Columbia. Son of former Big Thunder World Heavyweight Champion Gene Kaniski, and now a great rising, promising wrestler in his own right, as is Tim Horner, who reaches over and tags in Art Cruz, making his first appearance in this event. Into the ropes, being broken up by Alfred Neely, but Kaniski taking advantage without a clean break. Change it in the center of the ring now. Cruz being the aggressor, backing up now, Kelly Kaniski. Passing by his partner, Ron Kessler, without making the tag, so Kaniski stays in, representing his team. Only 1 minute time remaining in this team match. I'm sure we'd like to have a winner. Remember, in 2 weeks, the popular midget stars will be here. Next week, another great card on Mid-South Wrestling. The Super Destroyer from Atlanta, Georgia will be here. Hammerlock now by Tim Horner on Kelly Kaniski. Also next week, King Kong Bundy. Killer Tim Brooks will be here. Chavo Guerrero versus the AWA World Heavyweight Champion Nick Bockwinkel. Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. It all adds up to excitement we look forward to as our time is running down. Tim Horner on top of Kelly Kaniski. 1 second. Remember, it just takes 3 seconds to gain a pinfall in professional wrestling. We'll stay right on up to bell time. It doesn't take long. Once Kaniski kicking away was Tim Horner breaking it up. Body slam Horner. Now coming down with that left leg. Our time is just about gone, so until next week for our guest commentator Boyd Pierce, I'm Boyd Pierce saying goodbye for our guest commentator Bill Watts. Join us next week on Mid-South Wrestling Television Network. Thank you for watching.